Hi, this is Native Robin again, and being the YouTube enthusiast that I am, I was out looking around and found a fella named Buckshot 752, and he was doing something that I thought was pretty interesting. He built a thing called a fire piston. Now, I had seen guys do this on those survival shows with bamboo and always was a little intrigued, but this guy does it with just a few simple, inexpensive household items you can pick up at Lowe's or anywhere like that. So I thought, what the heck, I'd give it a try. So here's my fire piston. What you're gonna need first is a 1/2 inch stud out. That's what they call it at Lowe's. It looks like a test tube. It's closed up on one end, open on the other, 1/2 inch outside diameter. So this is what they actually put in plumbing to create an air pocket so your pipes don't knock when you turn the water off and on your faucet. So anyway, we're going to take that, we're going to take a 1/2 inch dowel rod. This was oak dowel rod I got, just a few bucks there at Lowe's. It goes inside. Boom. We're going to put an O-ring on the end to seal the air in tight, and a handy dandy wooden knob. So I'll show you how I do that. Now, the O-ring I use is a Danco number 83 O-ring. It's a 1/2 inch outside diameter. That way, when I put it around the dowel rod in the groove, I want it to just barely drag, not super hard, but I do want it to drag. Now, I experimented with several things, and I want to find just the right tool. I could use my handy dandy saw I use in the woods. I could use your crosscut saw, but I don't want the groove to be too thick. I've even got a saw on my little it's not a multi-tool, but it's pretty darn close. Here. Right there. So I'm going to play around and see which one gives me the best groove for what I need to do. I don't want too much of a groove. Now, I want my groove to be about my O-ring to be about a 1/4 inch from the end. Take my tape measure and measure off 1/4 inch. Okay, so we're learning on this project. For one thing, look at the end of that rod. Chewed up, it's a mess. What I'm finding out is it's hard to use a handsaw and get that good. Now, Buckshot 752 says he uses a pocket knife and just slowly takes his time and carves out the groove. So I'm going to try the same thing. Let's see if we have any better luck. Okay, I marked a groove 1/4 inch all the way around the end of the dowel rod. And I measured the thickness of my O-ring, and it's almost 1/8 of an inch, not quite. So I'm going to go ahead and mark a second mark just to kind of give me a guide. I don't really want to go any closer to the end of this than 1/4 because I got to dig it out there to put the char cloth into. Now I'm going to use a combination of my knife and my little hand knife just because it gives me more control of what I'm doing in there. And it fits in, no problem. So I want it tight. I'm going to put a little Vaseline on there for lubrication, so that'll be okay. I can always make the groove deeper if I need to. I can't undo it. So I'm going to try it where it is. Now this tube here, the stub out, it comes 8 inches long. So I'm going to cut it down. Buckshot 752 says 4.5 inches. He says 5 to 4, but he likes 4.5, so I'm going to try 4.5 too. So I'm going to take a hacksaw and cut this bad boy off, and then just kind of take a file and smooth out the ends, and I'll take my pocket knife and put a little bit of chamfer on the inside, and I'll show you what that's done, looks like when I'm all done. Cut 4.5 inches long. I kind of shined it up. I put a little chamfer on the inside to help the O-ring go in better. Now I got to drill a hole in the end, and I'm going to take my little knob that came from Lowe's, a wooden knob. I'm going to screw it into here and then cut the head of the screw off so I can screw it into here and put a handle on my little wooden dowel. Okay, so I drilled a hole in the bottom of my dowel, and I took the screw that came with it. There's one like this. Has a pin head on it. I screwed it into here as far as it would go, tight as I could get it. Then I cut the head off and ground a point onto it on the grinder. And then I pre-drilled a hole in my dowel, and I worked that rascal in there good and tight. Now I got a nice little knob. Here's my piston. It's going to go in here. Already you can see where it wants to resist. And that's, I don't even have any lube on here yet, any Vaseline on here yet. So we'll see what we get. Now, Buckshot says to spray the dowel with this crystal clear enamel, and that will help seal the wood around this O-ring. So I'm going to take the O-ring off, spray this rod down, let it dry, and then I'll come back later and try it with the O-ring on it and some char cloth. Now I got to dig out a little indentation in the end first, but then that'll be it. So we're almost there. Okay, so it's all dried. You can tell it kind of made a nice, a little darker color, kind of pretty looking. I put the O-ring back on. I put a little Vaseline on the O-ring there, and I even smeared a little bit inside of there. And you can tell, I mean, this baby, it doesn't want to go. It can be forced, and we're gonna have it. So all I gotta do now is make a little bit of char cloth, put in there, and we'll be off and ready. So that'll be the next thing I show you. Okay, so I got it all done, and a little gizmo here. I have to have a little piece of char cloth to stick in the end of there. So I'm gonna make some char cloth. And what I got is a Altoids can that I drilled a little hole in the side. See it? Probably like 1/8 of an inch diameter, 3/16. You could use a nail, but I had to drill out from when I was fooling around earlier. So anyway, I tried to do a bed sheet, and the old one I had that I was using for a drop cloth, turns out it's not 100% cotton. So one of my pink bandanas says 100% cotton right on the end of it. So it's gonna go down. Hey, it was less than $1 at Rural King. So anyway, I'm gonna chop this bad boy up, and then I'll show you exactly how I make char cloth. You can see my char cloth is being made in my Altoids can. I got a little hole drilled on the side where the gases are coming out, and it's not gonna let enough air in to burn up the cloth, but it'll burn, get it to an ashy cloth-like state. Okay, so I loaded up some char cloth, got my tube here, put it together. I can either cram it down like this, or I can load it up like this and come at it from the top. Like this. Ready? There you go. Fire. Okay, there's a couple of little knacks you gotta know about doing on this thing. If you're not getting enough compression around here, I smeared some Vaseline around there, just kind of gooped it on, and that really sealed it up. The other thing you could do, see you made your groove too deep, is to wrap Teflon tape underneath it, and then take your pocket knife on the edge and cut off the excess. I've seen some people doing that. Now, one thing you'll notice is you can't hardly store this thing. It doesn't want to fit together because of the compression. So what you do is take a pair of paracord, and this is that good paracord. It's got 7 strands inside. Pull one out like this. So now you drape that over the end. There you go. Now it actually kind of holds it together even. So you can do that. Now, it takes a few tries to kind of get onto it. It took me about 3 or 4 tries before I got it to go the first time, but as soon as it did, I was like, oh, okay. You slam it down, pull it off real quick. And the compression will compress the air fast like the piston in a car, create heat, pull that baby off, and your char cloth is burning. So there's just one more really cool way. So Buckshot 752, thanks for your fire piston idea. I've got about $10 in the whole project, and it's just one more way that I can start fire, but more importantly, it taught me another way to make fire. I think I can make a fire piston out of all kinds of things now that I know the concept. But the important thing with this thing is it's going to go in my fire kit along with my char cloth and my Altoid box, so I can make more, and my cut up bandana now. And I had a lot of fun, and until next time, this is Nate Robbins saying happy trails.